Okay, I think we might be live. And what I'm going to do is just test my lip sync because that's been an issue here. So let me just see if that's working. We might be live. And what I'm going to do is just test my lip sync because that's been an issue here. Just see if that's working. Okay, so I think we're good on the lip sync. And I'm going to go live on Amazon now as well. And we're going to just kind of drag things out a little bit because I got to wait till 9 to start the show, if you want to call this a show. And we're going to be unboxing a Chromebook, a new one from HP. This is the X360 12-inch. This is a Gemini Lake-based Chromebook, and I'll go through all this again when we start up. But you've got the N4000 processor, 32 gigs of eMMC, and 4 gigs of RAM, DDR4. And it's got the B&O speakers and a 12-inch HD+. And I think the display on this one is square, so that should be interesting, right? And I've got some folks who have joined us on the stream. So we've got Clean937 Samuel. Thank you very much for your super chat contribution. He's been doing a lot of those. I appreciate those contributions. And Bariskea is here, and ZR35X is here. Soundman is here as well. And we're going to get started in about 8 or 9 minutes or so. So we've got a stream tonight, and we've got another stream Thursday night. And I think what I might do on Thursday night, so I made an impulse buy, everybody. I upgraded my GPU, and I was looking around, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get the best one. So I got a 2080 Ti because I'm going to start doing a lot more flight simulators in VR, and I needed the best. So I bought the best. So maybe Thursday night we'll hook it up. That might be kind of fun. Soundman is going to NAB. Yes, you know, in fact, I am definitely interested in something at NAB. And if you've never been to NAB, it is the most expensive toy wish list event you'll ever go to, especially if you're a production nerd like myself. So I am very interested in these LED walls. Now, I've seen this now in like some super high-end production. Well, I haven't seen it personally, but I did see one at CES. And what these are really high-resolution displays that go behind you, and you can use them to make yourself, put a background up without a green screen, because you can actually project the real image behind yourself, and it doesn't get all messed up when the camera's recording. And I am convinced that this technology, which is now being used to make the Mandalorian show, for example, that it's going to be in reach of smaller creators in the near future. And I would love to know if there's anything out there like it. Because what I could do, for example, is I could have multiple sets without having to move anywhere. I could just change the background whenever I want. And what's really neat about these things is that they're using the Unreal game engine. And so you're able to change the perspective of the background when you're moving the camera. It's remarkable. There's a video up on YouTube from the Star Wars people, and they show how they make the Mandalorian, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And what's been cool about it from the production standpoint is the actors are able to see what they're supposedly interacting with in the background, but they also were saying even some of the things you wouldn't expect, like having proper reflections from the background show up on the character's costume, for example, that kind of stuff. So those things are really intriguing to me. David Parker is here, B. Tababa is here, Anthony Biacco is here, Keith Richardson is here, Frosty Winnipeg, Avijat Studio is here, Hector is here, thank you for the kind words. And it's morning for Avijat, so I'd love to know where you are, where it's morning. Here it is just about 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to start our unboxing at 9 when we go live on the Amazon homepage. So if you log into Amazon after 9 p.m., I will be on the homepage. Pretty cool stuff. Soundman says, yes, they're expensive. He priced out an 11-foot by 7-foot wall about 3 months ago for $75,000. Yeah, that's a little out of my price range at the moment. However, I predict that these things are going to be probably within the $4,000 to $5,000 range in the next 4 years. That's what I see happening. In the meantime, what I could do, here, this might be kind of fun. I could do this, ready? Let me show you my secret back here. Ready? Oh, we can do that like this, all right? Okay, let me just move over a little bit here. And see, I'm totally gonna screw something up here, I know it. But I've got 5 minutes to kill, so let's screw around with stuff here. So yeah, let's do. All right, I'll just change this one real quick. Okay, so keep an eye on things here, and I'm going to go over to my first input, and actually, you know, I'm going to do this inside of. I forgot how to do this now, because they just upgraded my TriCaster recently, so everything is gone from where it used to be. Okay, so now this is not a perfect key. I don't have good lighting on the background here, but keep an eye on this, folks, okay? So we're gonna do that. And then I'm going to, let's go over to ME3, and I'm going to change this. Oops, yep, I'm gonna change this. I gotta remember how to do this. So, you know, they changed a whole bunch of stuff on here. So I gotta figure this out. Bear with me for a second. All right, so we're gonna go over on ME3. Ah, there it is. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the 2 layer and add a fade. Okay, hang on a second. Where is that thing? Default, maybe? See, they changed all this stuff, and I forgot exactly how to do what I was doing before. Cut, fade, edit a field. Let's see if this is. Ah, this is it. Okay. So keep an eye on this, folks. You ready? Watch this. All right, you watching? Okay, now we're going to go to ME3, and I'm just going to put myself in the shot here. I got to move one thing around. I'm totally messing up my stuff here, but this is going to be fun. All right, so yeah, I forgot where they put the control for this. Here, I'll just do this real quick here. Ready? Ready? Hi. Hey. Hello. How you doing, folks? And I can do a little zoom. Is this the one that zooms? Yeah, I can position. Here we go. So I'm going to position. Let's see. I forgot how this. I got to play with this again. So what happened was they upgraded my so my TriCaster got a software upgrade, and they added all these new things to the mix. And now I don't know how to do half of the stuff I used to know how to do. And I haven't done the virtual set stuff all that often, but you get a sense as to how this works. So yeah, so that's that. So let's get back to work here, because we are 2 minutes from showtime. So let's go and kill the live mat. And there we go. And we'll return the green screen to its proper place. And whoop. And in case you're wondering, that is the Elgato green screen. I love that. It's really cool stuff. Okay. So, yeah, the live sets are cool. Yeah, so I'm having so I had some issues with my TriCaster with the current. So I upgraded to Advanced Edition 3, and I had some problems with it. There we go. Get this stuff off of there. I had some problems with exporting. So the issue was when I export out to Final Cut Pro, the files were getting cut off. The audio was getting cut off on them. And it was going on ever since AE3 came out. Long story here, because I got 2 minutes, so I'll tell it really quick. So the AE3 came out probably about 7 or 8 months ago, maybe 10 months ago. And immediately my exports stopped working, and the audio was getting cut off of it. And I kept asking tech support, everybody, like, hey, I'm having this problem. Apparently, I'm like the only person that uses a TriCaster with Final Cut Pro with ProRes files for some reason. So I ended up just grabbing the raw files off the TriCaster. But what's happened is that they've changed the codec on the TriCaster, the native codec, and the native codec on the TriCaster now isn't compatible with Final Cut Pro without conversion. So I had to roll back. So, any event. All right, so here's the game plan, folks. I'm waiting for Amazon to come live here, and what's going to happen at 9 is I'll be on the homepage of Amazon, and what we're going to do without the virtual sets today is we are going to unbox and start playing around with a brand new Chromebook. As you know, you all know this, I love my Chromebooks. We are going to play with a new Chromebook from HP. This is on loan from them, so we're going to send it back to them when we're done. And this one has a Gemini Lake processor on board. And it looks pretty cool. I think you all might like this if you like Chromebooks. And if you don't worry, we'll have another thing to look at on Thursday night. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so it looks like we are live on the homepage of Amazon. So if you want to watch me there, there is a link in the video description that will take you right in. Or you can just keep watching here, whichever works. And if you're on Amazon, say hello, and we'll get going. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is unbox this, and what I'm going to do is a recording, so we will do that, and I'll take some questions here. Yes, they were afraid I might end the stream if I hit the wrong button. Yeah, no, we're good. I've got one button I can hit to end the stream. I didn't hit that one, so I think we'll be okay there. Alvajoy wants to know if it has Intel. Yes, this is an N4000, so let me give you the specs here before we start unboxing. So you've got inside here, if you can see it, N4000 processor. I think that's a dual core chip, right? Let's take a look at that real quick. So we'll just look that up on here. Yeah, N4000 is Gemini Lake. And we've looked at a lot of Gemini Lake stuff before. I would expect this to be fanless. This is a dual core, 2 cores. So it's not going to be the fastest thing out there. You get a 32 gigabyte eMMC for a Chromebook. That's fine, although you might start seeing some issues if you're doing Android and Linux on it. 4 gigs of RAM. Again, not bad for basic Chrome OS, but perhaps an issue on other stuff. Now this has a 12-inch HD plus LED IPS display. And of course it's touchscreen. And I believe this is not a 16:9 display, but rather a more square display. And I know a lot of people prefer that. At least some do. So we'll see what it looks like when we take it out of the box. So that is what we are going to do. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to start a recording now because I like to upload unboxing videos to my extras channel. So we're going to unbox it and record it. So those of you watching live will see a recorded version of this go up probably tomorrow on the extras channel. All right. Okay, so I'm going to hit the record button. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We're taking a look today. Actually, I got to say we're not taking a look at because we're unboxing. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We are unboxing a new Chromebook today from HP. This is their X360 Chromebook, the 12-inch edition. This is on loan, by the way, from HP. So when we're done with this, it goes back to them. We will have a full review of this soon on my main channel at Lon.TV. This is an Intel-based Chromebook. It's got an N4000 processor. That's a Gemini Lake chip. We've seen these before. And this one is a touch display as well. It sells for about $359. And again, we'll have a full review of this soon on the main channel. And it looks like they packed in a stylus here. So let's take a look at that first. And it looks like they've already untaped it for me, which is great for an unboxing event here. And you can see there's the stylus. It looks like they gave me an extra little pen tip for that as well. So we will play around with that when we do the full review. So let's put that off to the side here. And let's take a look and see what the Chromebook looks like. And we will have a look. Now this is a 2-in-1. So you're able to use this as a tablet and a laptop. And Chrome OS has actually been getting a lot more tablet friendly lately. So of course you can install your Android apps on it. But you can also now use a lot of touch and pen gestures in Chrome OS natively as well. And we've covered some of that in prior reviews. There's some plastic stuff there. We'll take a look at the power adapter in a minute. So let's open it up here and see what we got. So now what's neat about this right out of the gate, and I got to actually zoom the camera out a bit to give us a little bit more room here, is that this has a square display. It's not running with a 16:9, a more widescreen display that we typically see on these Chromebooks. Feels very lightweight, very nice build quality. Looks like it's got some metal on board there. And yeah, looks pretty cool. So again, you've got the 2-in-1 functionality here. The keyboard looks like a standard Chromebook keyboard, nice big trackpad as well. Let's take a look at the ports on this one. We've got a headphone microphone jack here. You have a USB Type-C port. This is a full service port, so you can do power, video, and data out of there. You have a micro SD card slot here to augment its storage. This only has 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, so if you wanted to take movies with you on the road, for example, you're going to want to put them on that card because this doesn't have a lot of space to hold much of anything. That might be an issue if you want to install Linux on it or something like that. On the other side, we have another full-service USB-C port, so you can plug your power into either side. You have a full-size USB 3.0 port, a volume rocker, and a Kensington lock there as well. And that is pretty much it. This is fanless, so it doesn't make any noise when it's on your desk. And a lot of people like these square displays, and I think it's something that might appeal to some folks out there. 12 inches, by the way, so pretty compact. All right, so what we're going to do now is start testing this thing, and we'll have a full review soon on my main channel at Lon.TV, so stay tuned. And I just realized I forgot to show people the power adapter. So let's do that real quick. And I'll just figure out a spot to insert that. Okay. So let me zoom the camera in, that way we don't have a jump cut. And let me just do a... Oh. Three, two, one. All right, so here is 3, 2, 1. And I promised the power adapter as well, and this is what it looks like, your standard little power adapter here. This is probably a 45-watt power supply, so not too demanding on power. And then, of course, you've got your US adapter here for plugging it in. Done. All right. So price point on this one, by the way, is $359. And I'm just going to plug it in. It's actually got a full charge right now, so that's good. And the weight on it, I am not sure. I think somebody said about 3 pounds. If you go on the link that I've got in the description, that'll take you over to our live stream, I think. Let me just double check and make sure it's taking people there. And that link, maybe I didn't update. Oh, it's going. There we go. Yeah. That link will take you to the Amazon listing if you want to take a look at that. So that is where you'll find that. All right, so let me zoom out the camera here again and get a better shot. It's a little challenging on my desk here because I don't usually have displays that are this tall. So it's definitely a more unique looking device. It's actually taller, and I'll show you in a second. It's actually taller than my 12-inch MacBook, which is why it's so off-putting. I guess the bezels are a little bit larger on it. And you often need that larger bezel down here on a 2-in-1 because if you flip it around, you need a place for your thumb to rest. So it's that, and there's also some technical issues with it too, just from the display stuff. All right, let me take some questions here. I just have to log some clips so I make sure I have everything organized. And this is fanless too, by the way. So that is good. And bear with me here. We're going to call this 100 Chromebook unboxing. And then we'll add the 101. I have a lot of content in the hopper, folks. I'm going to have a bunch of cool stuff coming up this week. At least I think it's cool. The algorithm doesn't always agree with me, but, you know, algorithms. All right, let me remove that. Oops. And then we've got an Asus gaming laptop that I'm going to be reviewing too. So there is a lot of that. Some comments already. David Parker says the screen brightness is listed at 235 nits. Yeah, these tend not to be the brightest things in the world. If I look at it directly here, full brightness, yeah, it's kind of on the dim side. I mean, it's funny when you put it up here. Let me show you my MacBook next to it so you can get a feel for size and brightness. And this is with my studio cameras kind of pointing at it here too. So let me turn the brightness up on the MacBook. So the Mac is all the way up. So the MacBook definitely looks brighter. It's hard to do this. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even showing you. It's hard to do this because the camera is kind of blown out. So let me turn down the brightness on the camera a little bit. You know, it's really hard to say. The camera is hard to be a good judge of this, but I can tell you the MacBook does appear a bit brighter. But look how much shorter the MacBook 12-inch is versus this. Isn't that crazy? Look at that. It's really funny how that is. And it's all on the bezel. That bezel is why it's taller. And I'll tell you what, this MacBook, it pains me that they don't make this anymore because I get a lot of use out of that little MacBook. It travels with me everywhere. It's not the best video editing device, but it is really, really useful. All right, so let me get this thing plugged in here, just so we have a little power going to it. And I've got to go in and set up my little test account that I use. The screen does flop around a bit, so you'll have that to deal with. And here it is. Okay, I was going to say I didn't see my network initially, but it's doing it now. Okay, so we're going to connect up to my Wi-Fi, and we'll get connected there. And I've got to spend a day like cleaning up this place because it is just I finish a project and I immediately go to the next one. And it's been really bad, really, really bad. Wait on this one. I got to get the specs. So I'm having they're having a briefing call on this tomorrow, so I'll get all of the specs there. But I can see if I can look it up here. Chromebook 12. Let's see if we can get all the specs here for you. I can run down the whole list, and we'll see. You know, the price is it's $359 for a Gemini Lake. A little on the higher side than I would like, I think. But it's a 2-in-1, so there's a premium on that. Okay, so weight, and I think somebody said the weight before, but I'm just scrolling through the specs. Yeah, it's 2.98 pounds, and that is 2.98 pounds in kilograms. It's a little bit on the heavier side too. That is 1.35 kilograms. So just under 3 pounds and 1.35 kilograms. Display aspect ratio. Let us take a look. You know, they don't have the aspect ratio listed here, nor the resolution for that matter. So I got to get that tomorrow. I would imagine it's the same aspect ratio as the MacBook device. You know, it's got that square display there. All right, so let me just get my power strip going here. Get some power going to it. And then we'll start playing, see what this thing can do. All right, and we've probably got updates to install and all sorts of good stuff to do here. Now, what's funny is this one's charging now. So the Chromebook we looked at last time on the stream, the charger was dead. So, and everyone's talking about the potential one day for an ARM-based MacBook, and I would love an ARM-based MacBook. Can you imagine like a little MacBook that would go all day and all night? 20-hour battery life. I could live with that. All right, let me just log into my test account here real quick, and then we'll get going. Keyboard feels nice. They've made efficient use of space here, and it kind of follows. We looked at one of the more recent HP's, one of their 360s recently, and it follows that design language. It just doesn't have as much stuff on the side, but the keys are a really nice size. And I think Google has some standards that they apply for the keyboards and how everything is laid out. And the trackpad feels pretty good too. I don't know what I'm agreeing to, but I'm agreeing to everything. Okay, so we are in. And this is where we got to wait a little bit because it downloads all of the, even if I don't want it to, it just syncs up with my other Chrome accounts. So it's helpful to some degree because it goes in and downloads all the Android apps that we like to test, but it does require us to wait until that's done so that we can do all of our performance tests. One thing that I get confused a lot about on these is this start menu that they have, because I'm always like swiping up and it disappears. So that's that. All right, so while it's doing all of its downloading, why don't we look and see if we can install Linux on this thing. Let's go over to, it feels pretty snappy, so that's good. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just jump into the Linux feature, if it has it. Yep, okay, so it does have, and I may hook this up to my display in a little bit too if you want to see what I'm seeing here better. We're going to turn on the Linux feature. And we'll install that. And that's got to download the virtual machine and everything. And we'll give that a second there. And if you're watching on Amazon, say hi. I'm monitoring the chat on the Amazon side. And we'll let this download. Cameron Llewellyn is here. Loves the Chromebook reviews from Australia. Awesome. What I love about doing these streams, I do these streams at different times. So Amazon puts me on the homepage during primetime hours here in the US, which is 9 p.m. Eastern time. So it's a little bit on the later side of life here. And it's funny, when I get to this time of day, I am pooped because my kids, we did the bath time and dinner, and there's a big rush at night. Nighttime used to be like chill out time, but now it's like rush, 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 rush. So by the time 8:30 rolls around, I'm like just done, totally done. So I think what I'll do here, in addition to getting Linux installed, what I usually do is install the LibreOffice suite, and then I install Steam just to see how Steam works on it. But I like the square display. I think that makes a lot of sense. The bezel is just kind of big, which is why this looks so much bigger. And if you're just tuning in, just as a point of comparison, this is the 12-inch MacBook. So they really have this. Actually, I think the aspect ratio might be a little more square on the HP versus the MacBook. What do you think? I think it does. Like I said, I love this little MacBook. Nico Zika bought a secondhand EliteBook 820 G3 the other day. Yeah, they do build nice hardware, HP. I went out to their headquarters last year. That was a really fun experience. All right, so we're going to do our package updates here. Get the latest and greatest. What's interesting is that you have to kind of run your package updaters inside the container. Otherwise, LibreOffice won't install. So we're going to do that real quick here and get that going. And see, the difference between a live stream and a review is we start with Linux on the live stream. The review, we do all the other stuff first because a lot of consumers aren't into this yet. But I think it's going to be a big part of what Chrome OS is moving forward, because this puts Linux into a lot of consumers' hands. And even if they don't start touching a lot of this stuff, the potential for the open source community is quite large because it creates a much larger install base for everything. Diego Gomez says, what I love about this Chromebook is the aspect ratio and the resolution. I do not want many CPU, GPU cycles and battery invested in resolution. It is IPS and 4:3, and that is enough in this size. I agree with that quite a bit because you don't always need a 4K display packed into something this small, and this looks fine. It actually looks really nice and sharp. Definitely dimmer than my MacBook for sure, but it's got just enough resolution to make it look decent. And you're right, you don't need to invest any more power into doing that stuff. Santiago is here from Ecuador in South America. Awesome, welcome. We've got Australia. We've got people in Ecuador. We've got folks all over the world here watching. This is awesome. Grumpy Man is from the UK. And we have on the Amazon chat, we've got Ron Pfeiffer and Dennis. Dennis writes in, he uses an 11-inch 2018 iPad Pro with Bridge Pro keyboard as a 12-inch MacBook replacement. It's definitely heavier, but the size is similar and it's a bit more versatile. Yeah, there's some good stuff on the iPad. My dream machine, as I mentioned, would be an ARM-based MacBook like this one. I just love how lightweight this is, and I can run everything on it. And I could see them making an ARM-based MacBook that has a few apps that are hyper-optimized. I'm thinking like iPhoto, iMovie, maybe Final Cut Pro, and just to show you what's possible on ARM, because as you know, on the iPad, you can edit 4K video on the iPad, which is absolutely remarkable. So what we're doing now, just so everybody's aware, is we're getting all of the updates on the Linux side installed, and while that's going, my Android apps are installing too, and it looks like we've made some good progress on the Android apps. My games have not appeared, but I can go out and grab those and see what's going on with those. I'll tell you what, I'm surprised. Now, granted, we haven't done a benchmark here, but just poking around with this, it feels snappy, which is not what you always experience with one of these Gemini Lake processors. So they've tuned it appropriately, I think. And it looks like we're still doing our Linux update. And then undoubtedly there will be an update for Chrome OS here too, so we'll get all of that done. And there was a little bit of lag there. And it looks like it's installing, oh, I got PUBG going in. We ran that in the last review. What did I do? Let's close that out for a second here. All right, so let that continue updating. All right, we have more folks popping in here. So Eric St. Pierre says, I'm surprised Google doesn't make updating all the packages as part of the install process. Yeah, that surprised me too, that you wouldn't get, the Linux container would need updates when you install it. All right, so we're going to install LibreOffice now. Let's get that in there. This is all stuff you'll see in the sudo apt-get LibreOffice. Invalid operation. What did I do wrong here? Oh, never mind. Forgot to type install. LibreOffice. Okay, there we go. And it's going to take about 1 gigabyte, it says. Sure. Oops. Let's try this one more time. Got to make sure you hit the right keys here. All right, so we'll let that go. We got other folks here. South New Jersey, Clifford is here, closer to me. Feral Sparky is here. Good evening once again. Lord Base in New Hampshire is here, enjoying the Linux install. My 2018 Acer Chromebook doesn't seem to support Linux unstable. Yeah, it's been interesting how they've rolled it out. And I'm surprised, which Chromebook do you have that's a 2018? Because I would imagine it should be there by now. Unless it's one of these odd platforms that they're not supporting. I could see that being possible. Cameron wants to know, what do you think of the aspect ratio of this HP for productivity versus, say, your MacBook there? Is there much of a difference? Like I mentioned just a minute ago, it looks like it's a little more square than the MacBook. So the MacBook looks like the aspect ratio is a little bit wider. And as a result, you can fit a little bit more on screen. So I kind of prefer the MacBook ratio. I'll kind of overlay them on top of each other. Unless they are, they might be the same. It's hard to say. The bezel really throws everything off. But you know what? Let's put that screen back on. What do you all think? Hang on. I got to clean my screen up a little bit, it looks like, too. What's going on? My MacBook, oh, you know what it is? The light is throwing it off. It's got the sensor on it, and I think the studio lights are throwing off the sensor, the light sensor. But actually, it looks like they're about the same. So it must be that lower bezel that's really throwing it off. But I've always preferred the more square thing because, I'm reading a lot on screen. So I've never liked on a smaller display a 16 by 9 because you're so constrained. So this works a little better for me. And Dennis is also holding out for a ARM-based MacBook. Yeah, I think they'll sell like hotcakes when those things come out. I bet you there is one sitting in their headquarters right now. And I want it. Cameron says that they've heard from others that the more square ratio allows for more content on screen in terms of reading and writing. Yes, and that's actually why the iPad, where's my iPad? That is why the iPad is laid out in a more square aspect ratio. I need to charge my iPad. But you get the sense, the picture here. These are not 16 by 9 displays. They're more square because you can fit more up and down. And especially if you're working on documents, having that vertical real estate I've found to be really important. So that's why I tend to prefer that. But if you're watching or editing videos, having the wider aspect ratio sometimes is better. So I think it really varies based on what you're doing with it. And Feral Sparky says, every time I start one of my streams, his cat comes over as soon as he hears my voice and sits on his keyboard watching. Well, that's pretty cool. I love animals. I have a dog, and I like cats. I've never owned a cat, but I like cats. I like nice cats, not the mean cats, but generally I'm a big cat person. In case you're just tuning in, we are getting this Chromebook set up. And what I'm doing right now is getting the Linux component working. So I'm going to shoot the review tomorrow. And today I'm kind of going through all the things that we do to evaluate the Chromebook. So what's happening right now is we've got all of the Google Play apps going in, and we've got LibreOffice loading up. Now, this one only has 32 gigs of storage. So it's going to be a bit constrained on some of the software that we can install as a result of that. And it's a very different looking Chromebook, because a lot of the Chromebooks you'll see out there, especially the smaller ones, will have a 16:9 display. This one has a square display. We looked at one from Samsung not too long ago, actually about a year or two ago now that I think about it. That one had a more square display. And by the way, this one has a pen also. I'm just seeing if there's a place where the pen can sit. Oh, look at that. There's a magnet on the side. Okay, there you go. Now, why did the screen turn off when I attached the... So is that what happens? The computer turns off when the pen attaches? Let's see. I will give you... You know what? That's funny. So I thought maybe this was a magnet for the pen, but it's actually a magnet for the screen. So when the pen attached, it shut off. Yeah. So that magnet detects when the display is shut. So it thought the lid was closed. Lenovo's got a nice design. We just got in their C940, and they have pens that will garage themselves in the case, which is really nice. This thing kind of this kind of hangs out, so there's no place to put it. But let's see if it's active here. I guess I have to pair it up. We can put some batteries in it, maybe. Let's see. May have to read the instructions on this, everybody. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. That's kind of cool. So it's got a USB-C port. So this must be a rechargeable pen. So you just hold this thing up there and you can charge it up. Pretty cool. I'm just trying to see if the pen is active. It doesn't appear to be. But I don't see any buttons on here either. So perhaps we need to go in and configure that. So let's take a look at that real quick while we're installing LibreOffice. All right, so go to probably Bluetooth, I would imagine, right? Connected devices. Bluetooth. Okay, so let's go into Bluetooth. And let's see if it picks up the pen. And I might look and see if there's some instructions on this pen to get it to pair up. So we got the box. But I am not seeing anything on the pen and how to use it. So I may have to do some additional research on this one. Oh, here we go. So the pen may need to be charged. So perhaps while the computer is doing its thing, we will charge up the pen and see how that works. And we are still downloading updates here. Eric was wondering what processor it has. This has an N4000, and it's a dual core, so it's not the quad core 4100. And it does not have a cooling fan, to answer not Frank's question there. So it is fanless and quiet, which is always good. I don't like my computers talking back to me. And I am just looking for one of my USB-C charging cables so that we can charge this little guy. Let's see which one this is here. Nope, that is not USB-C. Let me just go get that USB-C cable real quick. All right, here's a USB-C cable. Yeah, this place is a total disaster. We need to do some serious cleaning here. I may have enough content done now that I can actually catch up for a little bit. So I'm going to plug in. It's kind of neat. I like how this little door opens up here. Check it out. See if I can show you. So it just goes like that, and you just open it up. And there we go. So we're charging that pen up. So let that pen charge. And then I'll come back in a little bit when it's done, and hopefully the computer will pair up with it. By the way, I saw there was somebody in from Brazil, from Berlin, I'm sorry, from Berlin. And I was in Berlin back in September for IFA and had a great time in Berlin. Really nice city to visit. And what was great was how easy it was to get around in Berlin, because I don't speak German. I learned a little bit just to kind of get my bearings. And then a viewer by the name of Khan, who popped in on the chat a little while ago, maybe he's here tonight, he showed me around the city too on my last night there, which was great. Not Frank's wondering if it's a 1080 screen. No, it is not 1080. Somebody had the resolution. I was looking on the specs here, and I don't see the... Oh, it's 1366 by 912. And what I'll do is I will put in the description... Excuse me, I'll drop this into the description here. The specifications, so you can see everything for yourself. So I'm sure people will be asking about that. So 1366 by 912. And we're still waiting for LibreOffice to go in, and I think we're still waiting on a few other things to install here. All right, it looks like all of our Google Play apps are in. And what I want to do also now is just check and see if, oh, it's still got more to go. I want to also check and see if Chrome OS is up to date. So we need to go through that and take a look at that too. HP is usually pretty good about getting everything updated before it arrives. So I think we will probably be on the current version. But let's check. And you know, another thing we need to look for, the other thing we need to look for is the end of life for this as well. So I would expect this to get the full 6 years because it just came out. So that would put us into 2026. So let me just search for that real quick. And we'll see what we got. And it looks like we've got an update coming down for Chrome OS as well. So we'll let that go, get that going on there. And if you're curious, we can go browse around the web a little bit. So the laptop's going to be a little constrained at the moment just because it is installing updates. We've got Linux installing in the background. We've got Android stuff going on there too. So there's a bunch happening here. The end of life for this one is June of 2026. I'm going to start my Google Doc, which is what I use to make my reviews. And let me show you something else that happens here on Chrome OS. So right now we're in laptop mode. But if let me disconnect power here real quick. But if we flip the display around, for example, and we just go into this mode, you'll see now everything is full screen. So it kind of has a tablet interface to it. When that pen, I'm going to let that pen charge for a little bit longer. But they actually have the ability to use handwriting as text input. So if I go up here and I tap on this, for example, let me just delete this out here and I'll show you what I mean. So I could write words and then it will kind of guess at what I was trying to get at. And then I can just do my web address and hit enter and it will send us off there. So it has some handwriting recognition built in. Oops, that's Lon.TV. Close enough. It also has a, let me just go back here. It also can take in voice, so I could go back to the text input here and hit the microphone button. The other night we did a look at some of the accessibility features that these have. So they have a lot of the accessibility features you'll see on other Chromebooks, so things for the visually impaired. They have, for example, you can zoom in and have a magnifier running around, kind of like what you can do on Windows, but they also have a descriptive thing, so wherever you kind of point the mouse, it'll tell you what it's seeing. So that's pretty helpful. There are things for the hearing impaired as well. So there's there's a lot of your basic kind of accessibility features are built in. And those features are on all Chromebooks because it is running a common operating system. So you can see what happens here when you flip it around. And now, if we flip it back, you'll see we get the windowed interface again. So it'll jump back. I am feeling the Gemini Lake sluggishness here, but you should get better battery life as a result of that lower powered chip on board. So you can see I'm like hitting the X here and it's not closing out yet. Now granted, we've got a lot of other things happening in the background. So we just installed LibreOffice. We're doing the Chrome OS update. So there's a lot happening here at the moment. Let's go over now and see if LibreOffice successfully installed, which I believe it did. And what's cool about the Linux apps, it's not easy to get them installed because you have to use the command line. But once you get them installed, you can just click on them and load them up. So if I wanted to load up the LibreOffice spreadsheet, for example, it will pop right open here. And there you go. So that's pretty cool. Daniel wants to know if we can make the screen vertical. I sure can. So let me close the app here. Let's pull up a web browsing window again here too, just to see what happens. There we go. All right, and let's pull up NASA, just have another website to have here. I like to go to NASA for a couple of reasons. One is that it's all public domain, so I can't get into any copyright issues. The other is that it's very multimedia rich and there's no ads. So it's a great website because I love NASA, first of all, but it's also a great website to just look at. So let's put it into, all right, so now we're in tablet mode, and you'll see it'll do the same thing it just did a second ago. And what Daniel wants us to do is put it into a vertical mode, and there you go. Now when you do this, the keyboard is disabled, so you can touch the keys and nothing's going to happen. Maybe not. I think I must have touched the screen. Go back to the web browser here. So you've got this big 12-inch iPad interface, basically. I got my studio light there reflecting. So it does that, and then I can flip it around this way, and it will orient itself that way. I've always found these 2-in-1s to feel clunky, and part of it is that when you're holding it, it just feels heavier. Of course, this is like 3 pounds, so a lot heavier than an iPad, even the 12-inch iPad. And then you're feeling all the keys and the trackpad behind you here. So when you're holding it, you're actually putting some pressure on this side on the trackpad, and it's pushing the button down. So I don't know what the longevity is on that kind of stuff. I would love for there to be more detachables, so you could just pop that display off and carry it around with you. But looks pretty good. Not bad. So let's take a look at, let's put that Linux app up again. Let's see what happens when we run that in this orientation. So let's see what happens here. Oh, that's weird. All right, there you go. That worked. Okay. And let's flip it around. Huh, good. That's good. So it looks like they've managed to get Linux to orient properly. And that's just an app. It's not something that they put in there. So that's pretty nice. Douglas wants to know how the trackpad is. It's good. Not bad at all. It's got the click pad, obviously, but it clicks nicely. It feels pretty responsive. And it looks like it did zoom everything in here when we went back to laptop mode, so might be a little bit of glitchiness there. But no, the trackpad feels fine. One thing that's been interesting is that Google must have some specifications as to how the trackpad behaves, because I see these trackpads, they feel very similar to me. The acceleration, the accuracy, the sensitivity. So I'm guessing they have a standard for the keyboard and for the trackpad. It's not feeling too warm either. Feels pretty cool to the touch here. Let's see where we're at on installs. We're just installing all these updates. All right, so it looks like those are done. Let's go and take a look at the main system update. 91% on that, and then we'll be able to get into it a little bit further here. So let's let that finish up. So this is the one thing that takes a lot of time when I'm reviewing, is that we have to get all these updates installed, and then before you start benchmarking, you got to wait for them all to settle down. So it's rough. So we have a gaming laptop in from Asus, the Tough laptop, which is, by the way, what a value that thing is. And poor Jake was working on it for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just to get all the updates installed, the Windows updates and all the other driver updates, because you really need to make sure everything is completely up to date before you start running your benchmarks. And while things are installing, you don't want to mess up things. All right, so there we go. So now we've got a bunch of Android apps installed too. So let's see if my Pac-Man game is here. Not yet. Call of Duty is, though. And MAME is. By the way, I'll load up Call of Duty real quick because I'll show you what happens when you try to run it on here. I don't think Call of Duty likes Intel Chromebooks, because we were trying to get it to run on the last one we were playing with, and it did not load. Let's see what happens here. Queen's Shopper is asking what the screen size is. Yeah, this is 12-inch, and it looks different than other 12-inch because the aspect ratio is more square. So that's why it looks so high, and it's taller to begin with, but you also have the bezel, which adds to the height. So if you look at what Apple sadly killed this off, but this is the same size display with a smaller bezel, so you can see the difference. This is what an extra $1,000 or $800 will get you. All right, we'll allow that. And we'll allow it to use audio. I don't expect it to load much past here. At least it hasn't on any Chromebook that I've tried yet. Actually, no, I take that back. We would get a little bit of the ways into it, and then it would die out on us. Diego is wondering if maybe there's a patent that Microsoft might have on a detachable. That's true, because we don't see a lot of detachables. Asus had one years ago. It wasn't a Chromebook, it was a Windows machine. This game is so big, and we just have very limited storage on here. So Feral Sparky wants to know, how are the talks about having a space closer to town going? So I'm getting there. As it turns out, there is an upstart ISP in my area that might be able to bring fiber into the building. Comcast did not have fiber. So I've been like, I said to the Comcast guy, I said, hey, these guys are local, they're putting fiber in, what do you got? And I haven't heard in a week from this guy. Can't believe it. So this is what happens when you're a monopoly. You're a salesman for a monopoly. It is a lot easier to get stuff out there. So it's looking it's looking pretty likely. All right, let's do a guest here. By the way, sound is pretty good on this thing. I gotta tell you. Usually, like, I see this B&O stuff and I'm like, what is that? But it actually doesn't sound bad. Had a nice spatialness to the sound. I'm just going to log in with my test account here. Feral says, you don't have to be a good salesman when you're the only salesman. Actually, it's funny, too, because I'm also trying to see if there's natural gas available at the location, because they have electric heat in this place. I'm like, what is that all about? I'm not going to deal with that. So I'm actually looking at buying a small office condo is what I'm looking at. And the gas people, like, the real estate agent I'm dealing with, like, she called the gas company a week ago. They haven't called her back. Like, these people don't want my money? I mean, what's wrong with these people? All right, so we're going to allow, I don't even know what I'm allowing Call of Duty to do here. I've allowed it to do 1,200 things already. Metal Beer Solid says he's surprised that it hasn't crashed yet. Yeah, me too, because this thing was crashing a lot sooner on the other Chromebook we were playing with. All right. I don't know what I'm agreeing to here. I just don't play this game, so. All right, so now we're doing, here it goes. All right, so there you go. We'll try to load it up again. Let's run the update here, and then we'll give it a shot. Hey, Smoke Monster is here. Yeah, we're not going to be jumping into much Call of Duty here. We can watch the menus stream on this thing, but I don't think we're going to get the actual game to load. Smoke Monster, by the way, you should know that that Legends arcade cabinet that I showed you the other day with the big controller surface on it, they added a USB connection option so that you can plug the Mister into the USB on the cabinet along with the HDMI, and you can play your Mister on the cabinet. It's pretty cool. I'm going to have a video coming up very shortly. Initially, it was just Bluetooth, and there was some pretty bad latency. And then I've shot the video with the Bluetooth, and then the day I was going to post the video, they updated it to include the USB option now, which is really cool. So I will have something, another Mister video coming up with the cabinet. And it was funny, AT Games reached out to me specifically on the Mister. They wanted to see it running on their cabinet. So it's pretty cool. No, they actually sent me the cab. I was going to buy one because I thought it was pretty cool. I was just waiting for them to get that USB option going. All right, so we installed the update, and it's getting the critical update installed, so we're not going to turn anything off. We'll let that do its thing. And Nico Zika says that the speaker looks the same as the EliteBook. Yeah, it looks like it's a similar configuration. It sounds pretty good. You don't get a lot of bass on these things, but there's a there was the presence of sound was pretty cool. It felt like it was an enveloping kind of sound. So pretty nice audio on that. And we got to wait for this update to install. Welcome to the live stream where you can watch me install updates for 3 hours, right? The good news is that Chromebook updates are not as annoying as the Windows ones tend to be. So there's that. But we will let the system do its thing. It looks like it's rebooting here. I'm just going to plug some power in just in case we're doing anything strenuous. And we'll let this do its reboot. But you know what? We'll run Call of Duty again and see if it boots up. All right, here we go. We are back in business. And it looks like it was a pretty big update, so I think it's... Pelachunian wants to know if the stream is a little buggy. My streams are always buggy, but I don't think it's buggy tonight, so I'd love to hear if anyone else is having issues. Is it like buffering on you, maybe? If it is, do a refresh. My stream health, according to the YouTube dashboard here, says it's good. State Alumni says, the software is not worth buying expensive hardware for when it doesn't have better optimization. I will agree with you on that. I have seen these Chromebooks perform under their Windows equivalents, with one notable exception, actually. The one we looked at from Asus a week ago performed exceptionally well. It had a Core M3, and it was faster on the benchmarks that we run, and some of the the games and stuff that we were running. It was faster than the Pixelbook Go that we looked at a few months ago. So that was pretty good. All right, now we got the Google Assistant now, so let's get that. Yeah, this was a pretty big update. All right, whatever. Let's agree to that. And we're moving along here. Okay. So we're going on here, and we'll hit done. And Feral said he got a hitch in the video. So what kind of glitches and hitches are you all experiencing? Let me know, because I'm trying to troubleshoot. Part of the issue is I am simulcasting to both Amazon and YouTube, and I have a very limited upstream connection, which is why I'm looking for office space that has better service. I was hopeful that the Comcast symmetrical 2 gigabit would be around here, and the initial, they did that initial site survey, and they're like, oh yeah, you're only 700 feet from the thing, and I was like, yes, I'm going to get something decent, and then, what do you know? Too far. So, back to the drawing board. Womp womp. All right, so we are back up, and let us, you know what we're going to do real quick here, folks? We're going to run a benchmark, provided everything is done installing here. Let's just double check. Yeah, I think we're all good. Okay, so we're going to go over to my speedometer test that I like to run. And let's start the test. Yeah, it might start you off on a lower resolution. I am broadcasting, I believe, at 720p, because that is the best I can do. And we'll let this run. Now, what you're going to see on the results here when this is concluded, and I'll give you some comparatives here once it's done. This will be on the lower end of the spectrum, and I would not be surprised if there are a few ARM-based Chromebooks that perform better than this Intel-based one. But I don't believe we have looked at a Gemini Lake Chromebook yet, so this might result in a different expectation here. So let's see what we get. Hitesh wants to know what's the display type. It is an IPS display, 12 inches. And we'll let the test kind of do its thing and run here. What this is doing is kind of simulating what you might encounter with web applications. And we found this to be a really good way to measure and compare computers of different platforms to each other, just for this kind of activity. And Chromebooks especially, because really the core functionality is the web. So Santiago says, wait, you don't have fiber over there. Don't get me going on this, everybody. You know, I'll complain all night to you on this thing. So I do not have fiber. I just have a Comcast residential connection. I get 300 megabits downstream, which is actually good, but my upstream is only 12. And I live out in a more, not a remote area, but more of a rural area. And as a result, there's a lot more cable length on coax than I think you would see in a more dense neighborhood. So the challenge is that the company, and one of the repair guys was telling me about this, they are constantly battling RF noise on the poles because there's more distance. Some dude down the street hooks up an amplifier and it blows up everybody else's upstream connection. And we had that happening earlier. They had some pretty big issue a while ago. I wasn't getting a lot of packet loss, but I was getting enough packet loss that I couldn't stream out. And the guy didn't tell me exactly what they were doing, but he's like, it's not here, it's somewhere over there, which was the thing that he did. So it's flaky here at times, and the best they're giving me is 12. The Comcast gig service, which they announced in Connecticut 2 years ago, is not yet here. That is a gig down and 35 up, and I'll take it. just bring it here. So, all right. So this is the speedometer 1.0 test. So if you are a follower of the speedometer benchmark, don't get excited because this is the old test. But I run both the old one and the new one, and the reason is that we have so much data in my my little database that I'd like to just run the 1.0 to be consistent. So if you want to see my spreadsheet, if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, I believe that's the address. Let me just double check. Yeah, Lon.TV/benchmarks. You too can see my spreadsheet that I use to track all this stuff. And all of the benchmarking that we do goes in here. And this is, 5 or 6 or 7 years worth of stuff from the time that I started the channel. And it's kind of fun to see the progression of performance. Now here's something interesting. So we have tested a bunch of Windows PCs running, and you're not gonna be able to see this unless you log in. I see a couple of you are popping in there now. Lon.TV/benchmarks. If you scroll down to, so it's ordered in, the score is ordered by the 1.0. And if you scroll down, you'll see that a lot of these N4000s were getting like 68 or so. This one came in at 74. And I'm just going to put the HP in here real quick. So this is the HP Chromebook X360 12, and I'm just going to put 2020 on here so I have a reference point. And it's a Celeron N4000, and we got 74 on version 1.0. And we're going to go and run the next one here, which is the version 2.0. And let's see what we get here. Sorry, I'm just chatting with a friend of mine. Okay. So now we're going to go load up BrowserBench 2.0. And this score will be lower because when they change the test, they have a different scale for the score. So and it looks the same as the old test, but it's doing something different. And it's really important to keep an eye on this stuff because if they change the test, you need to make sure that you understand how it's changing, because if you've got 8 years worth of data that you're comparing against, you want to make sure that you're comparing the right things to each other. And I found too that, it's a matter of making sure that you can accurately look at how one thing performs versus another. So we'll let that run out here. David, thank you for stopping by the stream this evening. Daniel, we did make the screen vertical before. I will do it again. So I'll wait for the benchmark to finish here so we don't lose what we're working on. And we're almost done with the test. Hello, Taylor. Taylor Hansen is here. Santiago says it's been a fun and wild ride since the Atari 800 XL. I've got one in the back room over there, actually. Maybe I'll go find it in a minute. I haven't booted it up in ages. And Santiago, I don't know if you're a fan or have heard of the Mister, but the Mister project has a really good Atari 800 core that will allow you to run your Atari 800 software on modern displays. It is really cool. But yeah, it's been crazy. What I'm most impressed with and most excited about, and partly now because it's my job, is the fact that video technology has advanced as far as it has. And the other day, we went over to my friend Mark's house and we got him going with a $300 laptop for multi-camera live switching. I mean, and you know, we found a bunch of stuff around his house to get all these different cameras set up. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy, but great opportunities too. That's what's so awesome about the time we live in. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, right? Got to keep the hands washed right now and everything, but I think the good outweighs the bad in that a lot of people have voices, which is great. So Taylor wants to know what the Chromebook is doing. We're just running a little benchmark, which I run for all of my reviews that I do, because what I'm doing is just kind of doing all the things that I do when we're running through the evaluation process of a laptop. So this one really performs quite nicely on the benchmark compared to similarly equipped machines. It actually did better. So it did a little better than the Pepper Jobs Mini PC, which has a quad-core N4100. Isn't that interesting? This thing performed exceptionally well on this test for what it has inside. It's almost too good. I may go back and test some of those other ones. I don't know if maybe Google has done some optimization or something, because this is the second Chromebook I've looked at that performed better than how it should have based on our prior experience with some of these things. So that's pretty good. Now, I did have a request to turn the screen the other way, so let me load up the NASA website again so you can see that. And then we'll load up some Android games on here. What do you say, folks? See how those run. So we'll turn actually, let me put it into tablet mode here. So I'll turn it that way and spin it around. And now one thing you'll notice, and this is something that I test all the time as well. If you have an iPad, you take this for granted. So what happens here is if I rest my thumb on the display, you see how it's zooming it in because it thinks I'm pinching and zooming? Apple knows that it's not, that your intent was not to do the pinch to zoom. And if you want to know why bezels are always so big on these machines, is that so you have a place for your thumb to rest so you can scroll the screen without that interference. So the second that thumb gets in there, look at that. And Apple doesn't do that. They've got a lot of stuff happening in the background to prevent that little thing from occurring. But very few non-Apple devices will ignore that gesture. So this is not a knock against this one. But there you go, pretty cool. All right, so let's take a look at the pen. I think the pen is somewhat charged. And let's see if it's working here now. Yep, there it goes. So the pen is working. And let me show you. Here, why don't we load up a Google Doc real quick. And I'll just make a new document. Now what I can do here is we can go and hit the little pen icon down here. Oh, I've got some things. All right, let's do a note. Here we go. Let's load up one of the note things. So they have this looks like Google Keep, and it's loading the Android version of Google Keep, it appears. And we can do a little bit of writing on the screen here. Here we got somebody else. We got somebody from the Dominican Republic here. Welcome. Super Dodge Boy 93. I have a Samsung Chromebook Plus. I really like that Samsung Chromebook Plus. That was actually a really good machine. This one kind of reminds me of it because of the square display. So let's just draw on it real quick and see what we get here. So it's got good wrist detection. So I'm resting my... Let's see if it does pressure. Doesn't look like it does pressure. But I can draw on here. And this is, oh, it does How to do that? Let's see. Maybe it does do a little bit of pressure. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. I'm just not sure how the line got thicker. I thought maybe I had it at an angle, but But there you go. And they've got a whole little pen. Oops. Well, that's weird. Hang on. I thought I hit the pen. So I'm hitting the pen down here, but I'm getting the microphone. Actually, anywhere I hit down there, it's getting the microphone. All right, let's go back out of here and see what happens. Okay. Well, that's weird. So I hit the microphone, I'm getting that, but if I hit the pen, which is next to it, oh, there we go. That's weird. I'll have to keep playing around with that. They have a little laser pointer thing, so you can, this might be good for if you're doing a presentation. So this would project a laser onto the screen, a virtual laser. And then you've got a magnifying glass. This might be good for an accessibility feature. Pretty cool. And what else we got? We got, oh, you can do some screen captures, so I can capture a region of the screen, a little screenshot. See that? Drop it into Google Keep. Pretty cool. Yeah, I could dig that. So we got some stuff we can show during the review. So yeah, good. I'll have to make a note to show that off too. Hey, Panama is here too. We got Kevin from Panama. Such a great international audience I get on this channel. I just love doing these streams. Yeah, Santiago says that Apple's on another level with gesture and touch sensation. Their pen input on Apple is the best in the business, no question about it. Really good stuff. But you know what? Everyone's catching up. Like, they can't get complacent because they will catch up. And I like how now we've got a nice integration of pen apps down here at the bottom. It makes it easier for me because I can demonstrate something. But I can go here and create a Google Keep note. And this is syncing up with the cloud, by the way, so it's not storing that note locally. If I loaded up one of the Android apps, of course, that would store locally, but this doesn't. All right, cool. So let's get out of here. And I'm not sure how we can exit. Here we go. Let's just close it. All right, and looks like I lost my little X there, but I guess maybe when it goes into this tablet mode, it loses the windows, so everything goes full screen. So let's load up my Pac-Man game real quick. Why don't we do that? What do you say? Here we go, Pac-Man. And this is an Android game, again, running on the tablet. Now, when you have it in tablet mode, the speakers are pointing behind you because the speaker grill is here. So the sound is kind of projecting away from you there. I don't know why I like this game as much as I do. It's better with a game controller. Partly because it's kind of an endless runner that doesn't end. I actually paid for the game. So the nice thing about this game is that they do have some free-to-play garbage going on, but you can just buy the game and play as much as you want. I haven't played it in a long time. I was really kind of addicted to it for a while. And then if you want to pull that taskbar up, you can just do that and get some gestures going. So you can do like the iPhone gesture here to go back to the home screen. I wonder what this gesture does. So yeah, cool stuff. And then if we flip it back, so let me show you what will happen here. Let's say you have a web browser open. So if I've got like multiple windows here, so here we go, we got two windows. I'll just put some website up here so we have a point of comparison. So I got two windows up here, and then if I flip it out into display mode here, it goes into tablet mode. And then I forget how to, yeah, so you got to, that's the gesture for back and forth. So you can pull down from the, okay, here you go. So you pull down from the top. So I pull down from the top, I've got the other window here. And then if, let's say I loaded up another app, so let's go and load up one of the Linux apps here. So let's pull up the spreadsheet. And what's been good is that it's been doing pretty decent with the Linux apps in this tablet thing. It's doing a good job of successfully switching things around. All right, I was going to create my Google Doc real quick. And the end of life on this one is June 2026. And you can still use it after that date, but you will get less functionality. You won't be able to get updates. All right, so we're going to look at the pen. We're going to look at web browsing, Android gaming, and we will look at Linux. All right, we're still letting this go up. And what I might do too, the Linux got a little frozen here. Yeah, this is the only color they offer. They do offer other colors on some of their other machines, so I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe offer a different color at some point. And you can see we just switched back, and now we've got movable windows again. I don't like how the display flops around a lot, though. That's one thing that's kind of bugging me. And it looks like our Linux install is locked up, so we're going to reboot real quick. And we'll shut down and reboot. So we have a one-to-one Chromebook program at my local school. My daughter doesn't have one yet. I think they get it in like 3rd or 4th grade. But it's been a great equalizer. Because every kid has a computer now, which is just awesome. And that's one thing that Google's brought to the world is affordable computers that are very easy to maintain on the school district side. So if a kid has a broken Chromebook, you just give them another one, you know, and their account's all synced up. Everything is right there for them. All right, Mr. Chromebook, are we going to boot back up again? What do you say? Hopefully it's still working. Well, that's odd. Plug the power back in. There it goes. All right, we're back up. So let me just, and I'm going to do another maybe 20 minutes, and then I'm going to call it a night, everybody. I appreciate everybody tuning in. And we'll be back on Thursday night. And I might, let's see. We'll see. I may even come back and stream it either tomorrow night. We'll see. Set your bells, your notification bells, because I did something a bit rash. I was in the market for a new GPU because I'm doing a lot of VR stuff. Like VR is just, I don't like do a lot of it, but I'm starting to. So here's the deal, everybody. I need a new hobby because I turned my hobby into my job, and I got to have something else to do other than this stuff. And one of the things I've been thinking about doing is taking flying lessons because we have an airport about 10 minutes up the road, a small airport that has a great little flight school. And X-Plane has an awesome VR flight simulator. But I have just a GTX 1080 on my machine up there, but I have an i9, whatever, that octa-core processor. Oh, Linux is upgrading, so maybe it was upgrading. So we'll give it a second here. So they've got a great flight simulator, but I need a little more oomph on the graphics side. So I was going to go get like a 2080 Super, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get the Ti, and partly because, with this virus, and all the, there's shortages of everything. Like, look, if I don't buy this GPU now, I'm not going to get one, and it's only going to go up in price. So I said, you know what? Let's just get the top end one. So I got a top end GPU. I'm excited. And I will probably not use it that much, but we'll see how it works. And we got Connor from Ireland. It's 4 a.m. You are either up late or up early, depending on whether or not you got any sleep this evening. So welcome. You can watch me type in things into a spreadsheet. There you go. All right, so the Linux is upgraded. And what I want to do real quick is install Steam on here. And I need to just look it up again on how to do that. Now, there's been rumors that on Intel Chromebooks, they're going to have an official version of Steam that you can install through the Linux container on Chromebooks. And I've got this, there's a great little website here. This is brismuth.com. And he's got a little tutorial here on installing Steam on your Linux-based Chromebook. And this Intel-based Chromebook. It will only run on an Intel Chromebook because the Steam Linux games require a Intel CPU, so you can't do it on the other stuff there. I think I can just copy all of this. Let's see. And just paste it in. Maybe not. Let's take a look here. Woo. There we go. And then I can just do that and this. Oops. What am I doing here? 1 second, folks. I think I need to do the whole thing. Okay, let's just do that whole thing here. There we go. And we're going to just, there we go. Okay, so now it's going to install all the prereqs, it looks like. This cannot run Crisis, but my new GPU sure can. The big question is, can it run Linux? And of course it does. Back in the day, running Linux was a pretty big deal. All right, so we're done with that. Now we're going to do our sudo apt-get install Steam. Sure, install that Steam for us. And we'll put Shovel Knight on here and see if we can get that to work. Yeah, Connor, that's the big issue with these things, is that when you start doing a lot more with Linux and Android apps, you will really begin to eat up that space. And as a matter of fact, what I'm going to do while this is installing is I am going to get rid of Call of Duty because we couldn't get it to run at all. And what happens every time I install one of these, because it's synced up to my test account, Call of Duty continually reinstalls itself. So we're just going to nix that one. We only have 32 gigs of storage on here, so that is a significant liability here. So let me just uninstall that and get rid of that. Okay, and we'll get rid of 3D Mark also. And this is the same account we use for our Android phones that we test, so that has a bit of a impact here. I'm just going to get rid of a few other apps that we're not using. Okay. All right, and I'm going to hit exit. I agree. And we'll let Steam install here. So just to answer the question again, the resolution on this one is 1366 by 912. And if you go in the video description, I've got a link to the HP specs, so you can get all the specifications on this one. Oh, cool. Chrome Unboxed made a tutorial video installing a Linux desktop environment inside Chrome OS. That's pretty cool. You should check that out. It used to be a lot harder because you used to have to essentially hack these machines to get Linux running on them. I did that years ago with a Chrome box. And Division by Zero is here. Welcome. And Connor says it would be nice if the Linux install was outside of the encrypted user data so multiple users could use a single. Yeah, that would be kind of neat. So what Connor's talking about is if you have multiple users on your Chromebook, every time you spin up this Linux container, it's unique to each user, so it eats up a lot of space on the local storage. All right, we are installed. You know, I'm hearing a fan running, but it's not the laptop. It's something else in my office that's running. All right, so I'm going to leave this. What is running? I have a mystery. There is some piece of equipment running with a fan, and I have no idea what it is. Could be my camera, maybe? Maybe it's one of my cameras. My cameras have fans on them, by the way, so that's probably what I'm hearing. Okay. So let us load up Steam here real quick. Oh, and you know what I have to do also? We have to enable the GPU acceleration. And I'm not sure if it's going to work on this one. And I just got to look it up real quick. So Chrome flags Crostini GPU support. That's what we have to click on here. And you can see when you've got a lot of ads on a page, like that's where this thing will start to bog down, because these little chips don't do well with a lot of things getting thrown at them. And plus, it's only a dual core. All right, so let's enable that. We got to restart to get that going. So let's do that. And then we should be able to get going. So Alex has a Microsoft Surface Pro 7 to stream lectures from his university. He likes it a lot. Those are good. They are good machines. I have the Surface Go. I love the Surface Go. Yeah, it looks like it's funny. The longer, once the stream hits like the hour mark when I'm starting to run out of steam, that's when everybody shows up. So we've got 220 in right now, and that's one thing that Connor was talking about there. Cameron wants to know, is it safe to play Steam and do higher end tasks on Crostini with a fanless Chromebook? Yeah, I think it's okay because the chips, these Intel chips will throttle. So if it starts to get a little too much for it, it will throttle back down. All right, so we presumably have that going. I'm going to get my Steam account loaded up here. Somebody else, first name, last name, wants to know, why do I test so many Chromebooks? Well, the reason is that not many people do, and that's why I do that. One of the tricks with YouTube is that if you cover things that other creators are not, you will get traffic on those items. And so I found, for me, the real niche here was trying to find things that a lot of other reviewers weren't all that interested in. And for me, the affordable stuff has always interested me because I love to push inexpensive things further. What can you do without spending too much money? And so that's been kind of my shtick. And Chromebooks are a really good example of that, because generally the Chromebooks are the lowest priced laptops out there. There are expensive ones, which of course we've looked at. And Chrome OS fascinates me because it's kind of like the sleeper competitor to Windows. It's integrating all of the things that a real competitive OS needs to have, and this Linux component really was the last part of that. The Android apps are useful because there's a huge install base for that, but the fact that you can run really thousands, millions, hundreds of millions, whatever the number is, of open source applications easily, relatively speaking, is a real game changer, and I think it makes these Chromebooks a significant alternative to Windows in a way that I think it's been hard for the open source community to be able to do on a consumer standpoint. There are millions of these Chromebooks out in the hands of consumers, and they're all now, the newer ones, beginning to have this capability. So that is really cool. Oh, I got you, Connor. Connor said the fans I was hearing were the fans of the channel, and I thought, never mind. It was funny. I looked up and I saw suddenly we were getting a lot of people in there. Michael Caine, the famous actor, wants to know, maybe somebody in the chat can help him with this answer, because I don't have a quick answer to that question. He's wondering what's a reliable way to run Android apps on a Surface tablet. He's tried BlueStacks, but it's full of ads and nags. And I haven't done that in a while, so I'd love to get some feedback. John Mochi wants to know, is sideloading coming to Chromebooks? I heard that it is, but it's not yet available. My gut would be that they would probably put it in some flag that's hidden somewhere. I think here, folks, we might be running out of room because the update started before and didn't finish. I'm just going to check and see how much space we have on this eMMC. And it used to be 32 gigabytes was enough for everybody on Chrome OS, but that is no longer the case. So let's see what we have left on this Chromebook, because it could be that we are just running out of room. And the way to get your space allocation, I got 11 gigs available, so we should be okay. That's the other thing, 32 gigs on Windows is almost unusable at this point. But here you're able to do some more with it. But Steam is not looking friendly right now. It keeps crashing after these updates are going through. And it was weird because there it goes. Okay, we're in now. All right, let me just log into my Steam account real quick. And then we can all gasp at the large library of games that I never play. I buy them when they're cheap, which I think many of you do. And then I almost bought another one today. I was like, oh, $5 for that one? And I'm like, you know what? Are you going to play that game? Because you don't play any of the games you buy. And I got a lot of games, folks. We do play a lot of them for the benchmarking of some of the gaming machines, but all right, Steam account. Let me go in and get my little number here. Okay. So State Alumni says, can you run Windows applications through Linux? I haven't done that yet. That might be a fun video to do because I believe it's possible to do that with Wine. So we should look at doing that. I know that some people have, but it's not something that you can just hit a button and have it do. It's going to require a little bit of extra work. Steam is acting really funky on here because it's crashing, but then it gets further after I reboot it. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, Windows on Linux on Chromebook is very meta. Be kind of fun to do that. All right, let's see if Steam's going to cooperate. I think on this little Gemini Lake thing running Chrome OS, we're pushing the limits a bit on this. Yeah, we may restart it if it's still acting up. And we'll do a little Shovel Knight and see how that comes together. And this is all the stuff that I like to show during the review, so this is helpful to get all this done tonight. And then I'm going to bed, folks, because I got a busy day tomorrow. I have like 3 or 4 half-completed projects that need more B-roll. So I got to run out and grab some of that tomorrow. So John Moshi, I think there was somebody else who popped in tonight who was also having an issue with Linux support on their devices. Yeah, let's reboot. And that's the one thing I found here too, folks. Like sometimes the Linux stuff will get a little flaky on you. So a good little reboot often gets everything back up and running. And Aaron Johnson enjoyed our video we did the other day with Mark the Puzzle Maker on that low-cost video, low-cost ways to get live streaming going. Yeah, that was fun. He's off and running, so he's doing pretty good. So State Alumni, no, so for Wine, which is the compatibility layer, you do not need to install Windows. But getting it to work on a Chromebook is not for the faint of heart. You may as well just buy a cheap Windows computer, given the hassle that it'll take. What they do is they install equivalents for what Windows uses on the API. Real complicated thing, but basically it installs just enough for it to use, or it just installs just enough for what the application needs. And it's really amazing how effective it is. I've used it a couple of times. I used to, my old job, we used Fox Pro. See if anybody in the chat room remembers Fox Pro. And there was something I was doing where I had to get Fox Pro to work on a Linux computer, and we were able to get it to run. Actually, I think I ran it on my Mac. That's what I did. I was like, do I have to boot up the virtual machine every time, or can I just do it through Wine? And sure enough, on the Mac, you can run Wine on the Mac, and you can run Fox Pro and other Windows apps through Wine. It's pretty cool stuff. So Connor said, so no, actually, there are a few ARM-based Chromebooks that have Linux support. Some of the newer ones do. We looked at a few. The older ones don't, but there's a bunch of them out there that do. And actually, one we will be getting in at some point in the near future, we'll have that. Division by Zero wants to know my main machine. So my main machine is my MacBook Pro. I've got the 2016 version, and that one is still going strong. And I'm not going to upgrade until I need to. So I tend to keep my MacBooks a while. So my last MacBook before this one, it's still in use. I have a 2012 MacBook Pro, and that one, my helper Jake he's still using it. That thing is 8 years old. It is still making videos for the channel. It's pretty crazy. All right, we are in Steam. So here you go, folks. Now this is not the Windows version of Steam. This is the Linux version of Steam. And this was happening the other night with the other Chromebook. There it goes. We were getting some lockups on the library and stuff, but let's see if it gets us to where we want to go. So what I want to do real quick is just install Shovel Knight. And we have to install it, of course, because it's not going to be running remotely. And one thing that we will be doing when it's working, which is I think soon, is GeForce Now is going to work on Chromebooks. So that'll be a fun thing to check out. And for that, what you would do is be logging into the NVIDIA cloud server and then using the game as streaming the game over. All right, so we're downloading the game real quick. Shovel Knight is like the perfect game to run on a Gemini Lake chip. All right, let that finish installing there. I just love that people like to watch me poke around with technology. It's kind of fun to get 237 people in just checking that out. Fun stuff. And we'll let this finish downloading. Yeah, so hopefully in the next week I'll have a better idea as to whether or not this office is going to work out for me. So Michael Kane with the question. Maybe somebody can help Michael with this one. I don't know the answer to this one either. Does this only work with proper Linux ports, or can the new Steam Proton thing work too? I would guess it would work, the Proton thing, because I think that works within the interface here, if I'm not mistaken. All right, Division by Zero, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, if I'm able to help people, that makes all the difference. All right, let's see if Shovel Knight loads up, and if it does, how fast does it run? Yeah, there we go. This game has the best music. All right, so we'll do a quick little... It feels a little sluggish on here, but the sound is working pretty good. Now you'll notice, yeah, not bad. Now how do we get that? Was it Control Tab? What's the Steam overlay? There we go. So let us get the FPS. Oh, so the game, that's broadcasting, I'm sorry, in-game. Let's go over to the in-game FPS counter. I just want to get a idea as to what our frame rate is. All right, and I'm also going to just pop into the options here. Okay, we're at, it says it's running at 1366 by 912, but so it's running at a lower resolution than 1080. But you know, does it need to be more than that, right? Okay. And the frames per second counter is all messed up here. But because we're not running at 1080p, it's running a little better than it otherwise would at that resolution. It looks great. It's very playable. Again, granted, I'm playing with the keyboard. I believe you can, I'm not sure if you can hook up USB gamepads yet. I think you might be able to now. And how do we use the thing here? Oops. Oop. Yeah, so there you go. That works. Let's see if I can get the game controller hooked up a little bit later. Yeah, good stuff. So that's neat. Let's see. Now, granted, this is not running with a GPU or anything, so that's going to limit what you can play. But let me see what else I've got in my vast library. So, like, you're not playing any of these VR games, for example. Let me see if there's something else in here that might be playable. Besiege, no way. You know what? Let's look at... I'm just going through my list here. So a game like Flat Out, one of the old, like an older game, that one might work okay. Let's see. So this is, how big is this one? Oh, not available on Linux. So we got to make sure we got the right. So we have to filter this a little bit here. So let's go and just click on the Linux icon. I'm just seeing what I've got for older stuff in here that might work. Half-Life and Half-Life 2 should work fine. I've run those before. It says Kerbal Space Program can install, though I don't know how that's going to work. Let's see. Papers, Please would work. Qubit Rebooted probably would work. Quake 2. You guys ever played Road Redemption? This is a fun game. How big is this? We may not have enough room on here. Yeah, that's not going to do it. 5 gigs. We'll be here all night installing that. Even says X-Plane would run on this. Thimbleweed Park, that's a great game to put on here. Here, let's do this one. Star Wars Dark Forces. I can recall many a late night in college playing, well, this wasn't old at the time, in '94 when this came out. Yeah, Doom 2016, that's not going to cut it. We won't be able to run that one. Alan Clark wants to know if I ever used the Samsung Chromebook Pro V2. No, I think I reviewed the first one, but not the second one. Thank you for the kind words, State alumni. Very nice of you. Yeah, the chip tunes on some of these games are great. Now this game, I'm just curious to see how this will work. So this is Proton. Look at this. Okay, so it is installing Proton. So let's load that up after it's done, and we'll just do a quick little Dark Forces session here. Yeah, Witcher 3. You're all pushing your luck on this thing. Not going to happen. But it gives you an idea, though, of the optimization that they were able to do on those ARM chips. And it also gives you an idea, with The Witcher in particular, what you might expect to see out of an ARM-based machine that's properly optimized, an operating system that's properly optimized, and a game that's properly optimized. All right, so it's looking like it's doing another little update here, too. Let's click on that and let it do its thing. Anthony Bianco wants to know if you install the Plex server under Linux, how would it... that's a good question. I don't know. I guess if the hardware transcoding would work on Plex if they allowed the Linux container to get access to the portions of the Intel chip that do the transcoding. All right, here we go. Oh, so okay, so this is running DOSBox. Yeah, that was probably pushing our luck. That crashed. Let's see. Didn't like that one. That's funny. Okay. Let's see what this Proton's all about here. Proton is an invalid app configuration. Okay, so I wonder now if yeah, so now, a whole bunch of stuff just popped up now. So I think because the Proton layer is installed, that might give us more we can play. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like everything popped in here that wasn't there before. Maybe not. Looks going to try this one more time. Yeah, gaming on a Chromebook is not going to be that crazy of a thing here. Oh, there it goes. Now it's working. Maybe not. Let's see what happens. This brings back memories, though, seeing all this stuff on screen. The DOS 4GW protected mode, that was like 32-bit. Ooh. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, let's see how it does here. Yeah, this is like super meta here, pushing our luck. So let's go and... yeah, the mouse is like completely unusable. Let's go to begin mission here. See if I can get the mouse over there. There we go. Yeah, I don't expect this to be a good experience. Get the AdLib emulation going. I bet you, though, we could install DOSBox separately in Linux and get this to work better. Now, to put this game in context for you all. Oh, this is horrible. This came out right around the time Doom was like hitting its stride. So this was one of the first Doom clones. And to have like this Star Wars adventure was just like totally awesome. And they have stormtroopers coming after you. It was just awesome. But it ain't working so good here. All right, so yeah, we're gonna quit the DOS if we can get our mouse back here. Let's see. This is really painful. Isn't it funny though that you could get something like Shovel Knight to work fine, but this thing is like dogging here. All right, that's out. Okay, one more. We're gonna do one more. And then we're going to call it, I think. Rocket League. Yeah, I don't think Road Redemption is going to work on here. What was the other one we were going to try? X-Plane, no way. Oh, Full Throttle. I want to try that one. Let's see. This is a remastered. No, it's 5 gigs. It's not going to fit. Never mind. You get the idea. That's how it used to work. But yeah, so I think we're going to be seeing Steam be more accessible on Chrome. I think there was, and Mr. Foodman just pointed that out. There will be support on Chrome officially for Steam, but it really isn't hard. You saw we just pasted in some stuff from that website, and up it came. And if you've got a game that's written for Linux and not running some DOSBox thing, you should be fine. But you're going to run into some of the issues related to storage. So right now you can't put stuff on an SD card, for example. I don't believe external drives work with this either. So you've got some things that will limit you a bit that you need to be aware of. I wonder if what was the flat out was too big, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it was 3 gigs. So there's some things that that'll limit you on a Chromebook for sure. But if you set your expectations properly, you're going to be able to run a lot more on this. Division by Zero wants to know, can I try the same on a mid to high spec Chromebook? Yeah, so we did look at the one. I already sent it back, unfortunately, but the one we sent back was actually doing okay. But again, you just have the Intel GPU here, so none of the games are going to run all that great, and that GPU is going to be hindered a bit by the fact that it's running under a few layers of operating system and containers and everything. So it's not an ideal situation. Super Dodge Boy 93 wants to know if they still make Chrome boxes. I think they do, but I haven't tested one recently because I don't think there's been a new one of late. So that's that. But yeah, so guess what, folks? I got to call it a night because I've got a bunch of stuff to take care of in the morning. I got to get my kids off to school, or one of them at least, and then I've got to go to a meeting at the school after that. So all sorts of crazy stuff going on. But yeah, it's been fun to chat with you all, and you'll see a review of this coming up shortly. So this will be the first thing I work on tomorrow. I'm going to get this review done. I have a review of the Asus Tough laptop, which is a gaming laptop with a discrete GPU, has a 120 hertz display, and they start at about $650. Pretty good deal. So that is what we're going to look at. And then Thursday night, we're back here same time on Thursday night. I'm not sure what I'm going to do just yet, but it will be something of interest. So we'll have some fun stuff to do. Division by Zero says, come visit us in Morocco. I love Moroccan food. Maybe I should come to Morocco. It might be kind of fun. So we will be back. What I think I'll probably do is, and it's going to kill me not to hook up my new GPU tomorrow night, but on Thursday night at my 9 o'clock hour, maybe we'll get my 2080 Ti. I'm like, why did I buy that? The 2080 Ti installed, and we'll see how that might be a fun one to do. So let me know if you all find that of interest. And yeah, so we're going to call it a night here. Thank you all for tuning in. So we'll have a review of this. I got so much stuff in the hopper. It's great. We're really productive. And actually, what's been great about doing these evening streams is that I can get some of my work ready for tomorrow. So it works out perfectly. So that's going to do it. So again, I'll be back. I'll do a full write-up or review of this thing, and we'll see how it performs. And thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a good evening. I want to thank Clean937 Samuel for his super chat contribution, and I'd like to thank all of you for watching too, because it's great to interact with everybody on a regular basis. And good night to the Amazon audience as well. We're going to end your stream now, and now I'm going to shut down the mainstream here too. So I will catch you all later. And again, we're back Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So look that up to find your proper time zone, and we'll have more fun stuff to play with. That'll do it.